things which may or may not have an impact later in the service. It'll just be a surprise. I'm Reverend Michelle Buheit, the minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to establish a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. I'm joined up front today by our Director of Faith Development, Angela Warren. As Unitarian Universalists, we are people of the wide path, engaging in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and then coming together to share ideas and to make a difference. I'm so glad that you have chosen to be here. Those of you in person, those of you virtually, we see you. Well, you see us. We know you're there. Today, we are concluding a month-long exploration on change. And today, we're going to learn how to change our perception, how we perceive things. And since it's a Soul Matters Sunday, we will do that in mutual conversation. It is a good thing that we are comfortable with informality and being just who we are here. And who we are is a beloved community, a gathering of people who have chosen to journey together, to encourage one another, and to be part of something important and life-changing. Because we aspire to be such a people, we make bold promises about how we will be with one another. I invite you to share with me our congregational covenant. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world.
As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on occupied land that was nurtured and cherished by the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee, and the neutrals before them. We offer this libation as our giveaway, symbol of our respect for and deep connection with this land. May we be good stewards of the land and courageously cultivate community with all living things. It is our custom when we gather to light a chalice, the symbol of our faith that represents the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. I offer these words as Ellen Muma lights our chalice. We gather around this flame that symbolizes the truth we know and the truth we seek, the community we share and the community we aspire to be, the learning that enables us and the mystery that encompasses. Here we speak the languages of memory and hope. Here we are welcomed, our journeys embraced and shared.
Each of us carries with us into this time cares and concerns, joys and sorrows. Together, we create the container where we can put down our burdens, knowing that they are held gently by this gathered community. For those joining virtually, I invite you to perhaps speak your cares aloud or type them into the chat in the live stream. For those here in the chapel, I invite you to come forward and place a stone or a shell on the table labyrinth in recognition of all that is on your heart.
When you wake and feel the day's already gone, the sun is rising, but your faith is going down. And you're losing hope, a change gonna come. You gotta tune your station to a higher sound. When the way seems blockaded, and you just don't have the might, give some praise that you're frustrated. No, you ain't wrong, you're on the edge of something right. Take a small, sweet step, give it all you got. Just a small, sweet step, moving forward. You don't know what's next. with a hero's heart and a monkey mind. On the planet of commitment, there is no doubt. So when the way seems blockaded, and you just don't have the might, give some praise that you're frustrated. No, you ain't wrong, you're on the edge of something right. Take a small, sweet step, give it all you got. Just a small, sweet step, moving forward. You don't know what's next, and nevertheless, take a small, sweet step, moving forward. And you know you got to be crazy. Look at the game and think you're okay. You're in the very last minute, the very last play. Scoreboard's not on your side, but aside, your heart is a beat. It's a song on your tongue and a dance on your feet. You came here to bring to the game what you got, and lose ain't never the prize.
Let's share a few breaths as we expand our circle of inclusion to bring in those who may not be present, but whom we carry in our hearts. Today we especially lift up the Staple family as our beloved friend and longtime member of this congregation, Joan Staple, passed from this life yesterday. May her name always be a blessing. We think of those who are ill, those who are in pain either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. May it ever be so in our lives. Amen, and blessed be. Join me as we sing. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in that love. There is a love holding you. There is a love holding all that you love. There is a love holding all. You rest in that love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in that love.
Our time for all ages today is a story called The Magic Vase. It's a retelling of a traditional story from 100 wisdom stories from around the world, edited by Margaret Silf. There was once a poor family who lived in a drab little house in the neglected part of the city. They tried to be a happy family, but times were hard, and jobs were not easy to come by. As time went on, they began to feel more and more depressed. You could see their depression etching itself even on the house they lived in. They no longer bothered to clean the windows. They didn't tend the little patch of garden in front of the house. The paint peeled off the door and cracks appeared in the brickwork. One day, the eldest son of the family was roaming idly through the town, and he came upon a marketplace. The stallholders had set up their wares, and there was a bustle of activity. In spite of his feelings of near despair, the boy found himself being caught up in the excitement of the morning market. He stopped to watch the people buying fruits and vegetables, freshly baked bread, and tempting cakes. He noticed the queue at the fish stall and took a deep breath of pleasure as he passed the stall of fresh summer flowers. But the stall that attracted him most was a little second-hand stall, tucked away among the awnings of the regular marketeers. He had never noticed this stall before, and he stopped to investigate. And there, hidden away in the dark recesses, he noticed a beautiful vase. Rapidly, he fingered the coins in his pocket. He had just enough to meet the modest cost of the vase, but there would be nothing left over. Ah, well, he thought to himself, why not? Even if we have a few lean days, I am going to buy this vase. Mom will love it. Everyone will love it. And he handed over the contents of his pocket to the man behind the counter. As he wrapped the vase in brown paper, the stallholder said to the boy, "Enjoy it, won't you? And treat it well, because it is a magic vase." With these mysterious words ringing in his ears, the lad went off home, proudly carrying his purchase. Everyone at home was delighted with the vase, and no one reproached him for spending his last few coins on it. Quite the opposite, in fact. When Dad saw the vase, he realized how shabby the room was, and he went to the cellar, got out the paintbrushes, and gave the room a makeover. And when the second son saw how nice the room looked, with its fresh coat of paint, he fetched a bucket of water and washed the windows for the first time in years. When the third son looked out of the bright new windows, he realized what a state the garden was in and went outside to dig it over. When the fourth son, or maybe this is a daughter, right? Or someone else. When the fourth son saw the newly dug garden, he planted seeds in the flower bed and watered them lovingly all through the spring. When summer came and the baby daughter of the family went out to play in the garden, she noticed the flowers that had grown from the seeds, and she gathered a bunch of them to give to her mother. "Here are some pretty flowers, Mummy," she said, "because we love you." Mum was overjoyed, with tears rising in her eyes and a lump in her throat. She put the flowers in the magic vase.
So in the story, it was about a literal house, but it could have been one of these other variations on house. So borrowing a bit from the story, I feel that my role as your minister is to be the person who notices that magic vase, whatever that is, whatever the metaphor of the vase stands for, and then to lift it up, to bring it out and say, look at this wonderful thing, or look at this thing that needs our attention. And so my hope is always that this agent of potential change, in this case the vase, will inspire something in you, an opportunity to bring your gifts to life and to participate in the ministries, multiple, of this congregation. So I may be indeed that person who notices, lifts up, brings it to you, but you will still find me in the kitchen cooking, or at the end of the driveway, shoveling the snow that the town plow just dumped there after our plowing service has finished their work and gone on to the next job. That has not happened this year, but last year Angela and I had a wonderful time. Because you know what that snow is like when it's been plowed. It's like concrete. But you will find me out there. So I'm not only the noticer and the bringer to attention, but I'm also out there with my boots on, my mittens on, shoveling with you. Are those things in my job description? Unless they fall under that other duties as assigned, the answer is no. And yet, I can't help but notice things. And then I think about the possible future outcomes. So in a situation where the town plow dumps of snow of concrete at the end of our driveway, I think about the parents who use the daycare that is nested in our building. How will they get in or out safely? If you've ever had to make a left turn into our driveway at a time of heavy traffic, you know how merciless other drivers can be. If there's heavy, wet snow impeding the entrance, it can be downright dangerous. So I'm always, this is probably not a good trait, that I'm always thinking 14 steps ahead. This is my confession. I'm always looking 14 steps ahead. So in the story, once the magic vase is brought home, the father's perspective changes. Just 5 minutes before the vase arrived, his perspective was probably, meh, the house is what it is. Meh, it's okay. But then this thing of beauty comes in, this thing of possibility, of change, and his perspective changes. And he realizes, wow, these walls, And he paints the walls. And then the son, the child, we'll just give it a non-gendered name, they come in and notice the paint, and all they can see is the windows. Oh, those windows. Sad story. So they wash the windows. And then each person that comes in, their perspective is changed by the activity that just happened. And that activity was prompted by this magic vase, which we know, I think we know, is not really magic. You can rub it all day and all it will be is shiny. Nothing comes out and grants you wishes, at least in this story. So, I looked around my office a couple years ago and said, wow, that's a blue room. That's a blue room. And I went out and got my favorite color, Navajo white, that sort of not quite white, not quite yellow, not quite all the things, but perfect. And I painted my room myself because I wanted to do it. I didn't have to ask permission that way. I could just say, oops, I'm really sorry. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that. But then I noticed the windows. I can tell you for a fact that at least for 7.5 years that I can account for, the upstairs windows of the house part have not been washed. Because who's going to go up that ladder? Not any of us. But those are humdrum kind of jobs to do. Oh, the windows, or to arrange for somebody else to do. And yet, each layer of activity, of giving of our gifts and ministries, changes our perspective, changes other people's perspective as well. And they don't even realize it happened. So about a month ago, Angela and I did some heavy lifting, literally, and moved the table that had been in the room known as the dining room out into the atrium, which is that beautiful, usually sunlit area with plants just adjacent to the chapel. And it changed people's perspectives. I had one member come to me in tears about how beautiful that space looked, and now they wanted to hold their group's meetings there. And I was like, oh, and then we had created space for our children, our littles, on the first floor that used to be called the dining room. Well, it's not the dining room anymore. And I am going to propose and vote, and it's unanimous, that we rename that room the Stephen R. Smith Room. So who was Stephen R. Smith? You'll find this portrait, it's quite large, in the room formerly known as the dining room, which is just through the beautiful atrium. Reverend Stephen R. Smith became the minister of the First Universalist Society of Buffalo in 1843. 1843. During his 6-year tenure, the church grew in size and influence in the community. Reverend Smith was described as wise, broad-minded, sweet-spirited, able, and tolerant. We're like twinsies, just so far apart. He was a man who won respect everywhere for himself and general goodwill for his church and congregation. He holds first rank among the leaders of Universalism in New York. So Reverend Smith had faith and he had vision. His wide perspective planted the seeds of Universalism in Buffalo and throughout Western New York. This church is the result of his efforts, because there was a Unitarian church and a Universalist church. This is in the early to mid 1900s. And they decided to join before the national merger. And so there was already a Universalist church, and that had been part of what he had brought. And then that was the seed for who we are. Awesome. So do stop by the new Stephen R. Smith Room. Thank you for agreeing with me that that would be a great name for that space. Thank you. So he had this amazing legacy, and I would call him a good ancestor. Becoming good ancestors is something that I talk about a lot. It's important to have a legacy that outlives us and does good in the world. It occurs to me that being a good ancestor has gone a bit out of style. You know, it used to be that the very wealthy would create beautiful shared spaces as their legacy, things like theaters and libraries or parks. And now the super rich fly briefly into space. So maybe that experience has changed their overall perspective in some way, although as of yet, I don't think any of them have decided to step forward and save the world, but it could happen. I'm happy to wait a little while. They may be rich, but so far they're kind of lousy ancestors and lousy stewards. Sorry, rich people. If you'd send me a check, I'll be glad to retract all of that. And I mean the super rich, you know, the kabillionaires. You know who they are. And they're not here, but you are. You are here, in person, virtually. And I am so glad. So far today, I've done almost all of the talking, and I have shared with you some of my perspectives about change and paint and windows and how they change how we think about our spaces. So I want to give you some food for thought, because I know you've had a lot of experiences and have perspectives, and some of your perspectives may have changed. You may have thought one thing, and then through something that happened, either you read a book or some circumstance happened, you changed your perspective. Something shifted, and I am so curious about that. So I want you to think about, how has your relationship with fill in the blank changed? And these are some of the areas that you might think about. How has your relationship with time changed? With your family? With money? Love? Success? Self-love? How has your relationship with striving changed? Your relationship with God? With rest? With your body? Friends? Regret? How has your relationship with shame changed? Or with joy, hope, beauty, or perhaps a spiritual practice? And I want you to think about that for about 2 minutes, and then we're going to hear from you. And we can theatrically fade that music down. Thank you. Okay, so I am curious. I'm going to wander with the microphone as soon as I get my tablet to tell me what to say. Mostly it's saying, don't say anything. All you have to do is listen now, Michelle. But I can still prompt you. So, how has your relationship with one of these things changed? How has your perspective changed? I'm coming to Pat.
My perspective changed with family. After I got divorced, I felt like I had to have a purpose in life, and I found that I like being a role model because I found my family doing things I used to do that I didn't care about. And I feel it works because they kind of take in what you're doing and not what you're saying.
I think you're a great role model, Pat. How has your perspective changed? Going over to Marjorie.
Thank you. My perspective changed when I realized I am not my thoughts. So around shame, I am not my thoughts.
Thank you. Excellent perspective. Okay, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go there.
My mom, Joan Staple, died late last night at 99, and the last year or so has changed my perspective about time. I'm 66, which feels old, but it's not, I guess. But she was a good person for a very, very, very long time and stuck to what she believed in. So it's been an inspiration, I think, about sticking to itness and how long we have to make a difference.
And we are so sorry for your loss, all of our loss.
My relationship with success has changed as a PhD student. Before, success was measured in the job I had or success of marriage and kids, and even before that in school, success was the grades you got and the level of GPA. And as a PhD student, you have to completely abandon that and take ownership of and reach out for and create your own support levels, which is completely new to me.
And live a life. Yes, that's a huge change of perspective. Anybody else want to share how your relationship, how interesting that word is? These are not just think-abouts. Having a relationship with a thing has a certain level of embodiment. We wear it, we feel it. Oh, I'm going to Jackie.
I would say that my relationship with time has changed. I now regard it as sections or sort of chapters in my life, and at the ripe old age of 70 plus, I can look back and sort of organize chapters and look through them, and it gives me a lot of perspective. Helps me sort of calm some unsettled issues because I can put it where it belongs and leave it. It's been a happy evolution of thought. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie.
I see you, Linda.
My perspective with myself has changed dramatically as I think about who I am, who I'm not, what is mine, and what is others, where I start, where I stop, what I eat, what I don't eat, all those things. Sleep. I can't think of one part of myself that I haven't changed my perspective on, and maybe change it on a daily basis, but I've been trying to figure out those things, and along with Eric, reflecting back where I can comfortably be without being too much or too little.
Thank you. So I want to point out that these changes of perspective, at least so far, have not been, well, I watched a TED Talk, and that person sort of changed my mind, and so I decided to change everything about my life. You may very well listen to a TED Talk and it changes something, but the changes that have been described, the changes of perspective, again, have been embodied. They've been part of experience, and that is deeper than I happened to read a thing, or I happened to, I don't know, hear something, read something. Those are important. Don't stop listening and reading, because they are the pathways. They're the magic vase, right? The vase itself didn't really prompt the change in a direct way, but its presence and what it stood for, that moment of beauty, changed the perspective of the family. So keep listening, keep watching, keep reading. You never know when that thing will prompt something new in your life. Thank you for sharing your changes of perspective. I don't think it ever ends. I hope it doesn't. I love change. You've probably figured that out by now after a full month of woohoo, change. And probably every time you walk in the building, there's something that I've tweaked. I really enjoy change. And I know that for many of us, change is hard, change is scary, and that is a completely natural human reaction. But I think we can make peace with change by changing our perspective. So thank you. We're going to try to sing along with the video. It's always a bit of an adventure. I think it is between the second and third verses that there's a piano interlude, but it's only half, and then we come again into the chorus. The song is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, and I will find out. It's in your teal hymnal, and it has a number, but 1008. So again, we'll see how this goes. We've been brave all day, so what's one more thing?
Trust the wisdom in
Nice, thank you. You may be seated. Our service is drawing to an end, which means our service to the world is just beginning. So let me tell you about some of the opportunities to connect and serve in the days to come. Following the service, Angela has been working with the kids during the service, working on a wreath. These wreaths are spectacular, natural elements, fabulous, and you can participate in that in the Emerson Room. You can have your coffee with you and do some fun things, both-handed. Also, today is the last day for the angel tree gifts for Gateway Longview, and last week we had a snowstorm, so everything is a little topsy-turvy, and connect with Janine Moyer if you have gift cards or things that you want to give. There is, speaking of giving, there is a giveaway table in the Emerson Room. Again, hold your coffee, look at the table. Les and I are minimizing, and so there are DVDs and CDs, and you can take them. Some of them still have the shrink wrap on them. I don't want to talk about what that might mean. But they would make great holiday gifts for other people, and they're free. But we won't stop you from donating, so there's a basket just in case. But truly, make them go away. We have an upcoming fundraiser, Saturday with Santa, coming up on the 10th. You can find out more about that in the newsletter. And on the tables in the Emerson Room, there's announcement things. They need some gifty things for that. You could take a DVD and put it to there, and it'd be fabulous. There are many opportunities to volunteer, to find ways to bring your gifts and your ministries to the larger ministry here. We are accepting window washers. Kidding, but not really kidding. Speak to Ellen Muma. She is the one who did the chalice lighting and the land acknowledgement, and she's in the Emerson Room helping Angela. Also, look at the back of your order of service as you take it home, and don't leave it on the seat for me to clean up. There are announcements there as well. There's so many ways to connect. So please do find a way to plug into this beloved community. And I would be remiss if I didn't invite you to give financial gifts to support our ministries. You can go to our website, uumherst.org, click on the giving link, or you can text your gift to 833-987-1968 on your screen. Because we pick fruit from trees we did not plant. We drink water from wells we did not dig, and this is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who will come after us. Your generous giving supports all of the work. I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing blessing, and then remain standing as we extinguish the chalice. Travel light and travel easy, till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. May the road rise up to greet you as you leave your past behind. I will think about you gently, and I'll hold you in my mind. Travel light and travel easy, till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace. Spread the love.